Hey Internet, Eric here. Well, it's Slashback Saturday again, and if you don't know what that is, Slashback Saturday is a concept created by Joe, the Horror Man, over on his channel. Every Saturday, what he does is he has a specific category, and should you choose to participate, you find a there's my finger in your face. You find a specific slasher movie that fits into that category. And this week's category was Factual Slashers. And what you were supposed to do is find a slasher film that was based on or inspired by actual events, or at least inspired by, I believe, an actual serial killer or something like that. And this one was tough. I mean, I figured a lot of people would do like Henry Confessions of a Serial Killer. I didn't want to because I thought a lot of people would be doing that. I noticed so far no one has, so whatever. I hadn't seen that in forever. And there was a couple other ones that were going through my head, and I'm like, does that count as a slasher? Does Gacy count as a slasher? Does the Ted Bundy movie count as a slasher? Does this? So this was more difficult than I thought. Should I do Psycho? Should I do Silence of the Lambs? Which definitely isn't a slasher, but could Psycho be considered a slasher? It's all up to interpretation. But you know what? I thought of doing Psycho, but then I'm like, no, everyone could be doing Psycho too. So I decided to stay on the Ed Gein idea, and today I decided to talk Deranged, also known as Deranged, the Confessions of a Necrophile. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I discuss plot spoilers, specific scenes, what have you. And this came out in 1974, same year as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is interesting because Texas Chainsaw Massacre, parts of that was also inspired by Ed Gein. And Ed Gein has also inspired Psycho. He inspired Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. He's been portrayed numerous times. Fuck, even Kane Hodder portrayed him in a movie. But this time, he's portrayed. Well, this time it's the movie starts saying this is basically fiction. All right, names have been changed to protect the innocent. That type of thing. And what's cool is it starts out with a reporter, literally in the film, discussing and saying what is happening. And the basic plot is we are following Ezra Cobb, farmer, played by Robert Blossom, who, if you don't know who he is in Christine. He is LeBay, the guy who sells Christine to Arnie. And he's also, what the hell? Old Man Marley. I was trying to think of his name, the guy with the snow shovel from Home Alone. And we're following Ezra Cobb. And Ezra Cobb lives with his mom, and he's taking care of her because she had a debilitating stroke. So, he does everything for her. And she dies. And it just breaks him. And eventually he digs her up and keeps her in her bedroom, and talks to her like she's never disappeared type of thing. Eventually he starts seeking romance and starts killing women, grave robbing, taxidermy, all the stuff that you know and love about Ed Gein. Yeah, from what I heard, this is probably the most realistic portrayal of the Ed Gein story. I don't know if that's true or not. Anyways, let's get to it. Shit. I mentioned the reporter. I love that concept. I love how, it starts off with a reporter. He's talking about all these different horrible scenes that have happened. And then every now and then, there's a scene where Ezra is talking to his dead mother. She's in the bed and he's just having a conversation with her. Camera pans out, and then there's the reporter right there talking as he's part of, is this a play? Is this a documentary? And he's right there. He's also narrating it. And I love that. I love that look of this film. A lot of people say Texas Chainsaw Massacre had that documentary feel. Because of the way it was filmed. So does this. And I think that reporter actually helps it. And I love it. First off, we'll get right into it. Robert Blossom is awesome in this movie. He always steals the scene. And anytime you see him pop up, he is great. And he looks really, really different here because the movie's in color. But here, he's clean shaven. So you get to see more of his sunken in cheeks. And he's really good at playing the creep. Really scary because he's got those piercing eyes. And He's really good at looking dangerous, looking crazy. Um, and I love how when he's conversing with his mother's dead body, he really seems like he's having a conversation and she's talking back to him. One of my favorite scenes is he went on a he met with a girl that he's gonna go on a date with, and she's a big girl, and he's just sitting there eating like a chicken leg, talking to his dead mom, talking about how much he enjoys her, how she's a big girl, her tummy's cute, this and that, blah blah blah, and what's really great is he's already obviously robbed the grave of his mom and a couple others, so he's sitting there eating chicken, talking to the body of his dead mom, and it's like, but you know what, mama, I don't think she's all that quite right, in the head. So that's funny how he would say a line of dialogue like that while he's talking to his dead mom. Yeah, he's so creepy. He's so scary. So unnerving. And then there's times when there's a scene where it's the murder scene where he's going to kill this big girl, and she's fucking Looney Tunes. She really is. They like have a séance with because she wants to talk to the spirit of her dead husband, and talk about how she hasn't had sex in a long, long time. So basically, she's going to give it to Ezra, and he's totally oblivious of it. Like she says, my carnal desires, and he's like, oh, carnival? Think they're gonna go to the carnival and stuff like that. When she's trying to put the moves on him, he looks super, super uncomfortable, doesn't know what's going on, and then it goes on from there. So yeah, I love how Roberts can go from like a simpleton to psychotic to dangerous to not knowing what's going on when it concerns with sex, and then eventually he does, and Roberts is great. There's really not that many other characters to mention. I mean, there's a couple victims that are just there. One is a waitress that looks pretty, and that's it. You got the other one, the big girl, who's a psychic, and she's just so over the top, and it's laughable, especially because of the scene, like I said, involves a seance, but the characters, nothing special, but you watch it for Roberts. Like the actress who plays his mom, she's dead within 10 minutes, if that. I mean, she pops up every now and then. Like, there is a scene where I think it's when he's going to have sex with the big lady. And he's kissing her uncomfortably, and suddenly he sees Mama. And Mama, like, sits up on the bed, and she talks about, the sins of the carnal flesh and syphilis and this and that and all that shit. So that's what causes Ezra to go crazy. Man, Robert's Blossom is so great in this movie. The gore, very memorable. There's not a lot of gore when it comes to the killing. Like, there is a death scene when he kills the big girl, and I really like how they did this. Like, she mentioned how she's going to have sex with Ezra because, she hasn't had sex since, her husband died. So, they're making out on the bed, and he pulls out a gun, puts a pillow over her face, and shoots her. But you don't see, what I love about the scene is it's totally bloodless. But all you do is the camera focuses on a picture of her dead husband. You hear the gunshot 2 or 3 times, and you just see feathers. So that's great. When he kills a woman with a large femur bone, and he starts beating on her, and then you don't really see it, but it's great. It's like, so you use your imagination on thinking about what's really happened. Kind of like how Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I guess came out a few months after this. Inspiration? I don't know. But like when he's beating on her with the femur, suddenly the camera freezes as he's swinging at the camera. So it makes you think. Like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, people swear it's a bloody movie. Hardly any blood at all. So that's what I like about this. The gore basically happens after the deaths. Like, there is kind of a bloody scene where Ezra's feeding Mama as she's alive, some type of fucking pudding or something. It's green, I don't know, split pea soup or whatever. She starts bleeding from the mouth, and the blood comes out of her mouth. And it's the type of blood I like people associate with, like, Herschel Gordon Lewis. It's like that red paint looking blood. And it's a pretty gross scene, with her bleeding from the mouth as he's trying to still feed her, and that's gross. But the scene a lot of people talk about is after he's already started grave robbing. He's taken up taxidermy. He's got one lady's head, severed head. He's got it on the table. And he's got a spoon. And he's literally scooping out the eyeballs, putting them on the table. And he takes a hacksaw to the head and, slowly cuts off the top of the head to take the scalp out. There's the brain. And he's got a spoon. And he's like loosening up the brain matter so he can scoop out the spoon to put it in to like a coffee cup. Really memorable, really gross, really wet, gooey. And if you do know your Ed Gein history, you've probably seen the photos of the woman, the woman tied up in the barn, upside down. If you've seen the clown, Terrifier. Art does that with a hacksaw. They were obviously they were inspired by the Ed Gein story. We do get to see that death. You don't get to see him carving her all the way down, but you do see her hanging nude, and you just see her naked from like she's upside down, but from like right under the boobs down, you just see like the red paint blood flowing. So gore is kind of minimal when people are alive, but that eyeball scooping brain scene is pretty fucking gross. The score is kind of creepy. The only score I remember is like church organ music playing. So, and that's sporadic through the movie, but it's creepy, especially after you get more into this movie. Couple scenes I really enjoy. I thought these ideas were great. Is Ezra's mom's already dead, all right? And we have this shot going through Ezra's house, and he's asleep on his bed. And we're seeing like how much of a pigsty the house is. Like, there's food still in a pot on his stove, cans of pork and beans everywhere. He's got like nudie magazines there, and he's talking in his sleep to his mom, and then you hear his mom's voice. So it's in his head. So you think. And then we finally pan down and we see Ezra sleeping on his mattress, and mom's voice is coming out of his body. That's really creepy. So it's going from mom's voice to Ezra's voice. Really, really spooky. And another scene I want to talk about, which I thought was really spooky, is when he first digs up mom, and he goes in there and he lifts open the coffin, and she looks how she cleaned up and everything, for the funeral. She opens her eyes, and then her hand comes up, and he lovingly looks at his mom, and they embrace their hands. And like he's like, "Oh, Mama, I love you." He didn't say that, but he gives that wonderful look that Robert Blossom does. And then suddenly he wakes up, he opens his eyes, and he pulls her arm off. She is this fucking rotted skeleton, and it's a really cool fake out. I loved it. They do a really good job of showing how crazy he is. He after he kills the big girl, he focuses on like a waitress at a bar. He's methodical. He slices her tires so he can give her a ride home. They stop at his house, and I don't know if he has to go to the bathroom or get something. He's making her wait, so she walks in to see what the fuck's going on. She walks into the room, and she's looking around, and it's this really cool reveal as if she backs up, and you see all the different bodies that he's robbed from the graves sitting there rotten, but they're placed at a table, like they're just there relaxing for the day. She freaks out, and then she turns around and she sees that Ezra is one of them with a long wig, wearing a face mask, Leatherface type face mask, chases her out of the fucking house, and then knocks her out somehow, I don't remember. And then she wakes up, she's in just her bra and panties. He's got her tied to a chair in the kitchen. Texas Chainsaw Massacre inspired. I don't know if they added the end scene because maybe they saw Deranged. I don't really know. And holy shit, this is an insane scene. It's not. I think it's better than Texas Chainsaw because that end of Texas Chainsaw is just a lot of loud screaming and cuts to her mouth and her eyes, and it's a little much. This is creepy because Ezra's trying to swoon her. He's playing like a ukulele or something. Then he's got like a drum that I'm sure was made out of skin, and he's drumming it. It's like a bongo. No, not like a bongo drum, but an old drum. Okay, with like the stuff stretched on it. And he's playing it with the femur, but he's trying to swoon her, and eventually she tries to trick him as he's slowly molesting her. Hand inside the bra, squeezing the nipple type of thing, and she's doing her best to make him fall for it. I'm into it type of thing, Ezra. Untie me so I can, show you how much I love you. He falls for it. She busts him over the head with a bottle. She doesn't get away in time, but that whole scene is creepy too. Makes you feel uneasy. And then there's more. There is the scene, that Ed Gein's most known for, where he kills the girl in the hardware store. But in this one, he doesn't kill her at the hardware store. She gets away. He shoots her, and then she gets out of the back of his pickup truck type of thing. Unless the girl in the hardware store was the one up in the barn. I don't know. Anyways, long story short, because I spent a lot of time talking about this, highly, highly recommend Deranged, Confessions of a Necrophile. Not necrophiliac, necrophile, someone who is obsessed with dead bodies. Not necessarily wants to sleep with them. I've watched this a few times. This is the second time I've watched it since getting it from Kino Lorber. I watched it the first time when it was on like a double pack DVD with Motel Hell. Robert's Blossom is awesome in this. Creepy as hell, unnerving. That eye scooping scene and brain scooping scene is gross. When Mama barfs blood out and it's mixed with the pea soup, that's nasty. I love how Roberts goes from crazy to goofy when he's talking to Mom with the chicken. That whole scene is great. Not a lot of blood in the actual killings, but afterwards makes it memorable. Highly, highly recommend Deranged for Confessions of a Necrophile. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Happy Slashback Saturday. Click the bell, all that stuff. Once again, I always say check out the Horrorman's channel. Lots of cool stuff. He doesn't just do Slashback Saturday. He does the Super Slash Brothers, which I mentioned last week, which is a stream he does with Horrific Nightmares JM and Bronco Juggalo. Great channel. He also shows like VHS and Blu-ray hauls. Not necessarily Blu-ray hauls, but like old VHS hauls he gets, and stuff not on VHS or Blu-ray that he shows off. Really cool channel. Cool fucking guy. In general. Anyways, talked enough. Like and subscribe. Click below. Tell me if you've seen this movie. Tell me if you haven't. What do you think? All that jazz. Cheers.